Dan couldn't do it.
Yeah.
He couldn't do it. But we asked Paul. So I'm trying to put it together, four good singers we've worked with. It's a little easier. Build on what's already existed, but not depart too much, During the year, we can experiment with different kind of choirs we want, but for the holidays, I think it's going to help you and me and everybody with our sound. So hopefully, they'll say yes. I'll keep you posted.
All right. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. You can say it on the band.
We're going to get started in just a moment, and big welcome to everybody that's here with us in person, for everybody, of course, joining us on the live stream for a very special service honoring our adult B'nai Mitzvah class.
We're going to begin our service this evening with a nigun, a song without words. There are a lot of new faces here tonight, and so we hope that this nigun will welcome you into our service. There are just syllables, no actual Hebrew words. Yai lai lai is all you need to know. So please do join with us. We invite you to participate and to sing along. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Yai lai 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 lai. La 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la. Again, Shabbat Shalom and welcome to all of those who are just coming in. We are beginning our service with the lighting of our Shabbat candles. So I'd like to invite up the parents of our B'nai Mitzvah tomorrow, the Berger parents and the Shapiro parents, to join us.
As we light these Shabbat candles, we link ourselves with the generations of our people who have kindled these holy flames. Time passes quickly, and we take this moment to pause and express our gratitude. We stand here with humility and with love for this occasion, for one another, and for being a part of the sacred community. As we participate in this age-old age-old ritual, we embrace this moment as we move forward in the cycle of our lives.
Yesterday, we held our children in our arms, and tomorrow they will be called to the Torah as B'nai Mitzvah. These Shabbat candles not only remind us of the joy of this occasion, but help us to see the light within one another and the strengths that each of us possesses. Grateful for all the precious gifts in our lives, we kindle the Sabbath lights.
Barbecuing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu Lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I didn't have a bat mitzvah when I was 13 years old. At the time, it was unusual for a girl to become a bat mitzvah. And my family, having 2 daughters but no sons, never even joined a temple. Honestly, at the time, I didn't feel I was missing out on anything. It wasn't until years later, when my 3 daughters went to Hebrew school and ultimately were called to the Torah, that I regretted my lack of a Jewish education. And yet, and for various reasons, I still postponed my study. It wasn't until I asked myself that quintessential question, if not now, when, that I realized now was the time. Now was the time to begin my journey to becoming an adult B'nai Mitzvah. The concept of holiness was the central theme of our class. Over the course of 16 weeks, we explored such topics as holy moments, holy thinking, holy prayer, holy life cycle events, and of course the Holy Land. All these discussions were valuable to me, but it was the writing of a Devar Torah that I found to be the most meaningful and also the most challenging thing I did this year. It was a struggle, though a worthwhile struggle, to find the meaning of my Torah portion. This necessitated a deep dive into the text as I read and reread far more carefully than I ordinarily would have. I also was careful to avoid the temptation to merely summarize, but to find my own voice and my own interpretation that I could then share with my class. Tonight is a celebration of all that we have learned this year, yet I believe it is not the end, but only the beginning of my spiritual journey. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. What a beautiful way to welcome Shabbat. We continue with Kabbalat Shabbat, and you can join us on page 20 in your prayer books for the prayer Lecha Dodi. La
לכו ונלכה כי היא מקור הברכה בראש מקדם נסוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת לקבלה התעוררי כי באורך ומאורי אורי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת לקבלה בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצולה תוך אמונה עם סגולה בואי חלה בואי חלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת לקבלה לך דודי דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת לקבלה
Going through a process that I only understood through the eyes or eye rolls of a 12-year-old obligation as an adult is petrifying. I entered the class determined, but self-conscious of feeling insecure since, in my mind, I should have done this a long time ago. That idea of should drove my fear of being seen as silly, my nervousness about potentially talking too much or wrong, and my determination to not reveal my seemingly lack knowledge of Judaism. Holiness, text, time, theology, prayer, history, lifestyle, place, I trusted it all fit together, but I didn't know how I fit into it. What I found was a process, more than a class, that only asked that I show up most of the time, yet somehow penetrated both deeply, intellectually, and spiritually. This journey has affected me, my work, my relationship to the world, and my relationship with Judaism. For me, if I had to say I learned just one thing, I've learned that I'm not alone. Robert, Robin, Toby, Robbie, Catherine, Audrey, Nick, and Eileen, we are in this together. And especially since this is the first time an adult class has been run here at TBJ. Karen, Matt, Lucy, Jenna, and Howard, you were right there not only teaching, but learning along with us. We are each but a single shard of light, each spectacular and shining alone, but together we sparkle. This entire process can be hearkened to this week's Parsha, Hukat, that takes place somewhere between 2 and 40 years after leaving Egypt. There was a new generation that was both distanced from the past and had a firm view of how to move forward. Why solidified in their history, prepared or not, it was time for them to head to the Promised Land. As a people, they were mourning Aaron and Miriam, representing the passing of time. The mitzvah of the red heifer, the ritual for how to handle the dead and cleanse the living, is really about change. Not the out with the old and in with the new type of change, but rather to honor what was and move forward with faith and belief. Tonight, this event marks a moment, a mitzvah, a time to pause, reflect, and take a deep breath before we move forward. So, 10 months later, I can firmly, with confidence,
and a little bit more knowledge than I started with. Embrace that I do not know. But with the same vigor, I can say that I'm part of a community that will be there with me through the process of trying to figure it all out. And for me, that was the point.
We'll continue our service with Baruch Hu, and I invite everyone to please rise on page 146. Please be seated.
Well, my oldest daughter, Sophia, said to me yesterday that if I was going to cry today, and I said, psh, mommies don't cry. But I have to say, being here and with my family and the unexpected arrival of uninvited but somehow invited friends and family is remarkable. Anyway. Just to start, a very deep, deep thank you to Rabbi Karen and the clergy for a really inspiring year, and now a thank you from my family. I have long felt that not being bat mitzvahed as a girl left me a little bit different than others, and a little bit left out. When it would come up in conversation, which wasn't that often, I would always be embarrassed to say that I never had one. I was never bat mitzvahed because it was not part of our family's tradition. While my grandparents, George and Semha Nathaniel, believed in God, prayed, and were the center of their Jewish community, neither my grandmother nor my mother were bat mitzvahed, and neither was I. And over the years, I had sought to check the box. In college, I joined a Hillel and started a Hebrew school class, but never finished because I got too busy and too distracted with young adult life. And then about 15 more years of post-college school and training, and then middle adult life came along until a year ago when the opportunity to join this phenomenal B'nai Mitzvah class presented itself as my oldest daughter approached her bat mitzvah age. I thought it would be something we could do together. I will not tell you what my parents and husband said when I announced that I was going back to Hebrew school. In addition to being a surgeon and intensivist and being in the middle of a master's degree in ethics, but I attribute my success in this venture, as with all of my other successful ventures in life that required their immense effort and patience, to them entirely. I would like to talk for just 1 minute about patience. My grandparents taught me a great deal about patience and the value of taking the scenic route. My great-grandfather, Sasson Shina, was a successful Iraqi businessman who traded with the British. He fought alongside the British in World War I and was captured by the Turks. He was imprisoned for years until he managed to escape and make his way back to my great-grandmother after 7 years in captivity. And then came my grandmother. And my grandfather's journey from Baghdad to New York in the 1940s was a study in patience. I'm going to totally get in trouble saying for this because it's legend, and it's probably geographically makes no sense, but legend has it that my grandfather traveled by elephant or a llama over the Khyber Pass as one leg of his trip here. And everywhere he went since then, my grandfather took the so-called less traveled route that led him to have enough adventures to fill a book. My grandmother taught me a different kind of patience and to be organized with my work. She taught me to break down massive mountains of work into smaller, more manageable pieces. And this skill has gotten me through innumerable overwhelming moments. Thanks to my grandmother's lessons and to those of my mother, I have accomplished much in life and balanced, more or less, a demanding job with a family, and I have lived a life of enormous fulfillment. Of course, I now realize that this is also the story of the Jews. At times, the Torah is more explicit, as with Moses and Mount Sinai and the story of the golden calf, and at other times it is more subtle, but the journey of the Jews throughout history is a story of learning and exercising great patience and flexibility and of a final reward. My journey to become a bat mitzvah has mirrored this path. I did it late, but it's never too late, and when I was finally ready to immerse myself in learning. Thanks to Rabbi Karen, I have enjoyed every moment of it. And you'll forgive the rather grandiose analogy, but tonight is a bit like the Jews finally entering the Promised Land, when you are patient, and you wait for the timing to be right, and you learn from all of the diversions along the way. The arrival at your destination is so much more sweet. Thank you.
Continue with the words of Shema on page 148. Please rise.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam
Please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Hello. I was brought up Catholic, baptized, and had a communion and confirmation. And then 1 week ago, my mother informed me that my father and grandmother ensured I had a bris before when I was born. So my given name is Nissensvig. By coincidence or fate, I've always been around Jewish people. I attended Jewish summer camp and learned to bless bread on Fridays. I met my wife at Hallel. And for my entire life, I've always felt like something was missing. And today I take that step I've always wanted, but never had the opportunity. Rabbi Karen would always address the group in emails with, "Dear Seekers." And while I did not feel worthy of that title at the beginning, it is all I consider myself at the moment. Over the course of the past year, I'm not sure if we ever came to a conclusion on any one topic. However, I can confirm that we have spent 90 minutes twice a month seeking our own truths and a glimpse of how to apply our own interpretations to the Torah to our own lives. And after all that I have learned, I can acknowledge I know nothing for sure, except that this religion fulfills me on a spiritual level I did not know existed. So 21 years ago, I met my wife at Hallel. She was Jewish, my stepdaughter is Jewish, and my daughters are Jewish. And I felt left out of my family's customs and traditions. And this was the initial motivation to convert. I wanted a deeper appreciation of the stories and the culture and the joy. My 8-year-old stepdaughter started her journey around the same time that I did, and being able to the mysteries of the Torah with her brought us closer together than ever before. After each session with the group, as a family, we would discuss the issues of life and philosophy that we wouldn't have had otherwise. And what a wonderful experience it has been to be guided by thought-provoking teachers of different ages and backgrounds. The first step was the hardest, and now I do not want to. I did not ever anticipate the transformation on. But as the pandemic dissipates, life returns to normal, it does not have to be the old normal with distractions and errands and things that take away from family time. The pandemic broke us down. At the same time, when I had classes with my family, we would come closer together. Together as we shared insight, but also as we disagreed and listened. So I extend my thanks to all the teachers and members of the group to take this journey. This curriculum highlighted how I know about my past, but also motivated me to start about who I am. And a final thank you to my family. Without their support, none of this would be possible. So thank you.
I'm the child of 2 Holocaust survivors. My parents had unusual superstitions and ways of thinking. I grew up going to Hebrew school in what some would call a conservative synagogue. I never had a bat mitzvah. Now I belong to a conservative synagogue. Quite a few years ago, my synagogue offered a 1-year bat mitzvah class. We were about 25 women. Some of the women had to learn Hebrew. I did not. We learned Shabbat prayers for the actual bat mitzvah. For our B'nai Mitzvah, we were also going to read from the Torah. I was a little hesitant about that. As we got closer to the day, the other women were buying feminine-looking talit. I was not. I drew the line. That's when I dropped out of the class. I found out I would have to wear a talit. That was definitely something I could not do. A few months ago, my daughter-in-law, Rabbi Karen Glazer-Perlman, told me about the B'nai Mitzvah class and said, no pressure. I then asked my question, with or without talit? Rabbi Karen said, however you want, no pressure. So here I am. I'm honored to be so welcomed by TBJ. Thank you.
Continue by singing Micha Mocha, our prayer of freedom and redemption. We've heard about wandering and seeking, and this is the prayer that really encapsulates that. Please join us.
Ya la la la, ya la 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 la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la.
כמוך בעיר אדוני כמוך
Adonai,
תהילות
Ya la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל אמן.
First of all, my father is here tonight. Where is he? Oh, there he is. Hi, Dad. Thank you for being here, Dad. So I better do a good job on this. Second of all, in just a few minutes, it's going to be such a thrill for me to chant from the Torah, to sing right here in Madison Square Garden before all of you, 85,000 devoted Reformed Jewish rock and roll fans. Reformed Jewish rock and roll fans are truly the best. Today is more than just my adult bar mitzvah. It is my adult confirmation, a part of my lifetime love of learning about Judaism. For me, it all started at Camp Harlem Summer Sleepaway Camp with the songs and services with my friends. Somewhere in that camp, one of the most beautiful places I have ever been, I felt like I could actually feel God there in those Pocono Mountains. Then came religious school, and at age 13, I had my bar mitzvah. Then I went to Brandeis University in Boston, established the same year as the State of Israel, and named after Louis D. Brandeis, the first Jewish justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. The university proclaims that it is the only Jewish-sponsored, non-sectarian university in the country, with its motto of emet, which means truth, even unto its innermost parts. After I graduated from law school, I toured Israel, and I felt God there too, in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. Then there was my wedding, with the ketubah and the chuppah. And now I'm at TBJ, which feels like a second home to me, with its amazing rabbis, cantors, and members. Here, my love for Jewish learning continued. And despite COVID-19, this past year, we had this amazing class. We talked about what it means to be holy, the Torah, God, Jewish history, leaders, prayers, the life cycle, services, and Israel. I wrote a Devar Torah, and now I am about to chant from the Torah. So, Dad, I know now one thing for certain. Judaism is a lot more interesting and enjoyable than working as a practicing attorney. Thank you, Rabbi Karen, for being such an amazing teacher, a rabbi's rabbi, and such a great mentor to all of us. And thank you to all of the TBJ clergy for teaching portions of this class. I dedicate adult confirmation to my father and mother for their lifetime of love and support. Thank you both for everything. My father is the only person here tonight who was at my first bar mitzvah so many decades ago. Thank you to my wonderful wife, Robin, for all of her love and support. She is my best friend, and she is certainly my Thank you to my beautiful and precious daughter, Rachel, for bringing love and joy. To my mates, to all of you at TBJ, I say that Judaism and Torah is important. It is special. It is holy. So when you are facing life's challenges, when you go into the fire, and many times in life, I have been in the fire, as the song says, may its strength give you strength. May its faith give you faith. May its hope give you hope. And may its love give you love. Judaism and studying Torah, may its strength give you strength. May its faith give you faith. May its hope give you hope. And may its love give you love. May God bless each and every one of you and your families with happiness and love and peace. Thank you all very much, and Shabbat Shalom.
At this point in our service, we take a few moments to pray for those who are in need of healing of the body or healing of the spirit. Tonight we're thinking of Stanley Amsterdam, Cindy Baker, Lenny Del Vento, Richard Falcon, Alan Telly, Michael Jesser, Dorothy Cavellis, Margaret Larkin, Joanne Levine, Robbie Palermo, Sharon Tillis, Rosa Torres, Laura Vogel, Aliza Michal Bat Ali, Rivka Bat Rachel, and Shoshana Bat Sarah. And if there's anybody in your lives who you're praying for healing for tonight, I invite you to share their names aloud or to hold their names in your heart. Baruch atah Adonai Rofei HaCholim. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals the sick. We continue with Misha Berach on page 154. Please rise for the blessings of the Amidah.
Adonai Sefatai Tiftach Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibur v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Koneh Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'Imachot, U'Mevii Geula Livnei B'neihem, Le'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Hakol, Atah Rav Lehoshia, Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayei Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'al Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit, Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah le'achayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei hakol, Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el hakadosh.
Please be seated.
The Torah portion, Naso, features a priestly blessing. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make the light of his face shine upon you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Peace is of overriding importance in Judaism. Shalom is everything. And in peace, I am filled with gratitude and joy for my family, my parents and grandparents, my children and my grandchildren, and my friends. What a joy, this gift from God. It should be like that for all of us. And this adult B'nai Mitzvah class is a gift from God. I have wanted to do this since I was 13, and it was not happening. And then it happened at TBJ with Rabbi Karen, and I am so grateful. It is wonderful. It is everything I hoped for and more. Thank you, Rabbi Karen, and all of TBJ. Thank you all, the clergy, the music, the staff, and everybody. Thank you.
And it's on nights like this where we really recognize, I think, the strength of the Jewish people. Nights that are really special to get to think about what our community means, what being Jewish means, and what discovering new parts of Judaism means. So thank you all so far for so many beautiful reminders of that. And we now turn to a prayer for something else that I think strengthens our Jewish people. We turn to our prayer for peace in Israel. I want to also direct you to, in your order of worship, one of our adult B'nai Mitzvah students, Robin, has written a reflection focused around Israel in your order of worship. So I invite you to look at that and to join me for a prayer for peace in Israel on page 259. O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen. And we turn from peace in Israel to peace in our lives, our community, and one day peace in our entire world. Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom.
I arrived at a context for my bat mitzvah experience through the poem Ithaca by C.B. Cafferty. A caring friend introduced me to it. The opening reads, "As you set out for Ithaca, hope your road is a long one, full of adventure, full of discovery." It continues, "Hope your road is a long one. May there be many summer mornings when with what pleasure, what joy you enter harbors you're seeing for the first time." The final stanza begins, "Keep Ithaca always in your mind. Arriving there is what you're destined for, but don't hurry the journey at all. Better it lasts for years, so you're old by the time you reach the island." When I told my son that I was studying for my bat mitzvah, he replied, "At long last." I've been talking about it for years. A busy and full life kept it on the back burner. Then came COVID, lockdown, and TBJ, offering an adult bat mitzvah class. It all lined up, and so the journey began. There were times that I questioned the process, the learning, the lack of learning Hebrew. How can you be called to the Torah if you don't read from it? I've reconciled that with the reading of a Torah portion, studying it, and preparing a Devar Torah. I picked a date not knowing the content. Coincidentally, the passage Naso included reference to the treatment of women and what I interpreted as discrimination. They were not counted in the census, subjected to false judgment, and could not help and build the tabernacle. Realizing times were different, I could accept the lack of inclusion. I appreciated that what is denied often makes you stronger. Our early classes about 3,000 years of Jewish history and perilous journey to the land of milk and honey, and then the final classes about Israel, coincidentally falling in time of peril, seem quite prophetic. The journey did not end with statehood. The fight for fairness and equality and coexistence rages on. My journey does not end here. The process has brought greater understanding of what it means to be Jewish, and more importantly, a Jewish woman. The class gave me an anchor in this year of journey through COVID. It also brought me closer to my parents and grandparents and their pathways in life, sacrifices, extreme loss, and survival. From early memories of sitting next to my in shul, braiding his tallis, to my mother's immigration from Austria as a child, her devotion and hard work on behalf of her family, community, and Judaism, a true woman of valor, to this, my bat mitzvah, the journey continues. I don't know what is next, but know that there will be a next. As I was walking the beach, deep in thought about these remarks, I found a heartstone. I took this as a message that you never know what treasures lie ahead if you don't look. I will always keep looking. Thank you, TBJ, for being an island, especially in the 15 months of COVID. To the clergy and the B'nai Mitzvah class, thank you for the opportunity to learn and grow with you. My family and friends here and streaming, you are the best. And now it's time for the silent prayer.
Having heard the beautiful words of our adult B'nai Mitzvah class, it is now my privilege to be able to invite you to Torah, to officially have the ritual moment of becoming bar and bat mitzvah. Our Torah service begins on page 244. Please rise as the ark is opened.
Torah,
My dear seekers, in just a moment we will pass down this Torah, Lador Vador, from generation to generation. You are not the 13-year-old that you might have been, but in this moment you stand here, proud receivers of our tradition and of our text. We imagine this Torah was given on Mount Sinai, and we give it in every single generation. Doesn't matter where in that generation you are. You also are receiving the Torah of the generations that came before you in each of your own families, and the ways in which you have passed that forward in your work, in your family, and in our community. So as is our tradition, as we do each and every Shabbat, we pass down this Torah, Lador Vador, from generation to generation. Please face the congregation.
We sing together the words of Shema, the words that bind us as one spiritual and Jewish community.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shema.
Please be seated.
It is now my privilege to call this year's adult B'nai Mitzvah class to the Torah as a B'nai Mitzvah class. Yamdu, 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 Talmidei Torah, B'nai Jeshurun, B'nai Mitzvah, Chiz Chazakim, Chazakim. Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Vayedaber Adonai El Moshe ve'el Aharon Lemor Zot Huchat HaTorah Asher Siva Adonai Lemor Daber El B'nai Yisrael Vayechut Elecha Farah Aduma Timima Asher Ein Bamum Asher lo ala alecha Oh.
Untatem ota Elazar HaKohen Vihotzi ota El Mihutz Lamahaneha Lashahat ota Vihanav Velaka Elazar HaKohen Midama V'atzva'o V'hitzei El hat pnei ohel moed midama shevat pa'amim.
Okay, you ready? Blessing after, ready?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan l'Eloheinu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
As the Torah is lit and dressed, we ask you to please rise.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה.
Please be seated. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Somewhere between 75 and 100 times each year, your clergy stand before the open ark, awaiting the moment that we will take the Torah from its sacred home and place it into the arms of a young person on the day of their bar or bat mitzvah. And we have to acknowledge here Alyssa and Cassidy, who didn't know what they were getting into on this Friday night of their bar and bat mitzvah, but we wish your families much mazel on this really special weekend. In that moment, we recite a verse from the book of Proverbs. Happy is the one who finds wisdom, the one who gains understanding. For its worth is greater than silver, and its yield than fine gold. It is more precious than rubies. No treasure can match it. As we discussed and unpacked so many times this year, these words, easily overlooked by those coming of age at 12 or 13 years old, have come to mean more as you are called to Torah as adults. For reasons, many of which you share tonight, it was not your path to receive Torah as a teenager. Some of you have mourned that moment. Others did not quite consider its significance until recently. But all of you arrived this fall at our class, ready in this moment in your life to engage anew with our Torah and its traditions. This year, you undertook a deep and meaningful journey. We waded through the waters of history and theology, liturgy, holidays, our Jewish canon of text, and most recently, Israel. We walked along our own paths toward understanding the subject matter, but most importantly, understanding ourselves in light of it. As Nick said in his remarks, this year we were seekers, frustrated by the hills and valleys of history that seem to repeat themselves in frightening ways, amazed by the cycle of Jewish time which spirals through the seasons of the year, moved by the treasure troves of our texts and their never-ending wisdom, concerned by the waves of pain the Jewish people are experiencing here and in Israel, befuddled by the Torah portion stories. It is thought that each of us is on our own private journey through life's uncharted waters. There is a midrash, a rabbinic story, that gives an insightful parable about those who stand in a dark place. No sooner do they start walking than they stumble over a stone or come to a gutter and fall into it, because they have no lamp in their hands. So too is the one who possesses no Torah, but the one who studies Torah gives light and experiences light wherever they travel. So, my dear seekers, it is not only Torah that can be your light, but the inner light you bring to your studies. As spouses and parents and grandparents, professionals in almost every field, those who are longtime members of our TBJ family and those who are newer, each of you brought a unique and essential light to our class this year. When in the future I will speak those words of Proverbs, of the jewels of our Torah, it will not only be the light of Torah I speak of, but of the profound light you have brought to each other, our community, and to me during this complicated and difficult year. Indeed, we gathered on Zoom, only knowing each other through the limited boxes on our computer screens. It was only last night, for the first time, that we finally got to gather in person, seeing the fullness of our beings, standing before Sinai in order to receive Torah and feel redeemed as adult B'nai Mitzvah. In just a moment, our clergy team will bless you with the words of the priestly benediction, the words we utter to every bar and bat mitzvah student and every simcha in our community. But one special blessing from me, your grateful guide. I learned so much more than I taught. Indeed, we are seekers together, and I look forward to all the learning we will do in the future. May your eyes sparkle with the light of Torah, and may your ears hear the music of its words. May the space between each letter of the scroll bring warmth and comfort to your soul. May the syllables draw holiness from your heart, and may this holiness be gentle and soothing to the world. May your study be passionate, and meanings bear more meanings until life itself arrays itself to you as a dazzling and joyful peace. And may your conversation, even of the commonplace, be a blessing to all who listen to your words and see the Torah glowing on your face. From strength to strength, my seekers, as together we say, Amen. I'm going to invite up the 9 members of our adult B'nai Mitzvah class, as you did for the passing of the Torah, to come forth to receive the priestly benediction from our clergy. I'll invite my dear colleagues to join me, and I'll invite everyone else to please rise as the ark is opened.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and watch over you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May God's wisdom reflect light and compassion unto each of you.
Yis Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
And may God grant you the greatest gift there is, the gift of shalom, of peace. Peace in your hearts, peace in your minds, peace in our families and our communities. We pray, dear God, one day, peace in our entire world. On this day of your B'nai Mitzvah, as part of your Bnai Jeshurun community and family, we join together in saying, Amen. Mazel tov, everyone. You can be seated. I'm going to invite everyone to remain standing. I know you've been doing a lot of that. Page 282, returning to our prayer books, we continue with Aleinu.
Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
At this point in our service, we come to the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. These words honor the lives of those in our families and our communities who we have lost. As part of honoring their memory, if you hear the name of someone you are remembering, only if you are so inclined, we invite you to rise in honor of their memory. The conclusion of all of the names will invite our entire community to rise to join in words of Kaddish. In the period of Shloshim, the 30 days of mourning, we remember Deanne Jabel Gittner, Deidre Goldstein, Jane Lichtman, Barbara Lee Siegelman, and Bertha Sutton. And on their anniversary of passing this Shabbat, their yahrzeit, we remember Seal Adelman, Amy S. Alexander, Harold Beitman, Hilda Biber, Dr. Abraham Joseph Blumstein, Charles Berinsky, Florence Cohen Borkan, Alfred H. Brundage, Bertha Bush, Ralph Cohen, Leroy Cohen, Samuel Cooper, Ira Y. Copen, Richard J. Ehrlich, Abraham Erdheim, Benjamin Fierstein, Abraham Fishman, Rabbi Solomon Foster, Irving Friedman, Irving Gale, Phyllis S. Getzo, Judith S. Goldberg, Solomon Goldberg, Diane M. Goldberg, Ben Golden, George Goldstein, Morris Gorlin, Dorfeld Gauss, Rose Grossman, Molly Hannock, Jean Hoffman, Leonard H. Howard, Amy Stern Canetta, Louis Klinger, Samuel Koski, Leopold Kramer, David J. Lehman, Murray Levin, M.D., Hortense Meyerowitz, Samuel Meyerowitz, Fred Raymond Mavshin, Isaac Pett, Albert Rocklin, Martin Rose, Marion Jaffe Rubin, Barbara Goldman Schneiderman, Jean F. Schoenwalter, Inga Sender, Morris Siegel, Sidney Silpy, Isabel Silver, Etta Simon, Lillian F. Sirota, Martha Spector, Daniel Straver, Loretta Waldman, Benjamin M. Weinberg, Isabel Wiener, Keith Wiener, Lisa Wiener, and Mary Wiseman. Zecher Tzadik Livracha, may each of their memories ever be for a blessing in our lives. On page 294, we find our people's prayer of memory, the Mourner's Kaddish. We invite you to please rise, page 294. Yit Gadal v'yit Gadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, V'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach leolam olamei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yital Shemei d'kudsha b'richu, Ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amin ram be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Osei shalom bimromav, huyasei shalom, Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. May the one who makes harmony on high bring peace to us and to people everywhere. As together we say, Amen. Please be seated. Just a couple of announcements. The first is that if you are here celebrating one of our adult B'nai Mitzvah students, we are going to gather in the Florin Field, which is in the back. You'll see a special oneg there for a chance for us to gather. There's oneg for everyone that you can enjoy as you leave tonight. Tomorrow morning, we have two very special young people being called to the Torah themselves. So I want to invite up Cassidy Berger and Alyssa Shapiro to join us at their stations. Maybe we can smooth out that right there. I think that Kiddush cup is right under there.
This is where your parents stood, right? Oh boy, we had a little spill.
Alyssa and Cassidy, I want to tell you before you make Kiddush that these Kiddush cups are a gift from our congregation's Women's Association and Brotherhood. The sweetness that we feel that is inside them, we hope that sweetness is with you this weekend and all of the happy occasions to come. And we invite you to lead us in Kiddush now. Mazel tov to you and your families.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu Shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinhivanu zikaron lema'aseh bereshit ki hu yom tehila lamikra'ei kodesh zeher litziat mitzrayim kivanu v'harta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodecha ve'ahava uvratzon hinhaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mikahadesh HaShabbat.
Amen.
You do this. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lehem min haaretz.
Amen. Beautiful start. You can take your challah. Please rise for one final blessing as we bring our service to an end. As we pass Torah into every generation, may we take some of that Torah with us on our own journeys. Each one of us is on a journey, be it our Jewish journey, our life journey, our personal and professional journeys. But we know, just as we can take Torah with us, sort of our spiritual GPS, helping us to get to wherever we are. Ushmor tzeitenu uvoenu l'chaim u'l'shalom me'ata v'ad olam. God, we ask you to guard us on our going and our coming into life, into study, into wisdom, and most of all, into peace. Please join me in saying, Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.